You knew they were capable, just weren't able to, put things into play. And, a light switch turned on, and but they have been capable of doing this. This is what we expected out of their bench and Van Vliet throughout the season. We had seen this at times when Kyle Lowry, even last year, wasn't playing up to par. He would finish games. So this is not new to us. It's just it's new to him recently to come back in this kind of environment and do it. And it's just great to see guys playing at their best at the best times.
And this is why we love competition so much, because every game is an if. Now, when you get to this level, it's always about if the others can play well, or if the superstars can have a monster game. If a guy who hasn't been shooting well starts to, find his stroke. And, the others for Toronto, they play excellent basketball today in a tough building, and they're up 2-1. But they can't get too happy because Golden State is battle-tested, and when you poke that bear, they usually wake up.
Speaking of ifs, what if we can get the video of Kawhi telling those jokes on the plane? I personally would love anybody buying that. I would love to see those. Kawhi had 30 points in the game, 10 of 11 from the line, hit 2 big threes in the third quarter. Here he is after the win to put him up 2-1.
It feels good. I don't think about what happened 2 years ago. Pretty much living in it now, and I'm just happy we were able to get a Game 3 win, another step closer to our goal.
ESPN, why was Let It Rip just the right message tonight for you guys on the whiteboard, and who wrote it, and how well did Kyle Lowry follow that advice?
I think we all kind of follow that advice, but it's just easier to look at that now and say it worked great for us, especially on a great shooting night. But it's been a while since the whole playoff series. We haven't really had a good team shooting night, and I knew eventually at some point we were due for one. So luckily we got one tonight, but we still have to do a better job defensively on the end of the floor to limit those guys better, so that we don't have to rely on our offense or our shooting to win games for us. But luckily it did tonight. And hopefully next game we can continue to stay warm and let it rip, and hopefully play even better defense.
Steve on the aisle over here.
Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. Danny, over here.
I see you.
Shaquille O'Neal apparently offered some shooting advice to you.
He's a pure shooter. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah. Can you fill us in on what he suggested and what effect it had on your performance tonight?
Yeah, I spoke to him before the game briefly. He was always on the TNT set, and he was out there before the game. And every time I see him, he's giving me his pure shooting advice, because he was good at it. And but just the fundamentals, the small things. He's telling me to be confident and just hold the follow through. And obviously after a good shooting night, it's easy to see that his advice has worked. But he always just yells to me, leave it, and that's his way of saying, leave your hand up there, hold your follow through, and be confident in your shot. But he's always been that guy to me everywhere, or every year we get on the playoffs or on this stage, where he comes over and tells me, stay confident and give me his shooting advice.
Standing in the back right.
Listen, I played with Chris Jackson, a.k.a. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Maurice Williamson, Doug Sandberg in high school, Joe Cavalier, D. Scott. I always go back to the first finals we lost when, Kenny was just throwing it up there, leaving it, looking at our bench, talking smack to play. The greatest shooters leave it. And I've never been a shooter like that, but I played with guys, and I used to always tell them to leave it, and it always worked. And again, Danny was my rookie, and when I got to Cleveland, it was towards the end of my career. LeBron is a great leader, he always did his thing, but when he wouldn't do certain things, and I would pick up like Danny was there with me. We were both new, and I would say, okay, listen, you're not gonna stop LeBron, but when he's out there running around doing that, you can work on your game also. So you're a shooter. That's why we brought you here. So just leave it.
And what was interesting, because he's talking about, hey, jokingly about shooting advice, but really what he needed more than anything is some smelling sauce. So what Shaq did was put the smelling sauce, because it's different when you hear it on television. It's different when you hear it from the stands. But when your peers and someone you look up to grabs you and shakes you and say, yo, I'm paying attention to what you're doing, man, and that's not you. You know, you get that smelling salt, sauce, whatever it is, you get it on. That's what you did to him.
And as soon as, yeah.
You can't take credit for all of it, but every now and then you need someone to bring you back to where you are. And in that moment, and I still, honestly, I didn't notice it until Chris noticed. Chris said, now look at the difference the way he's warming up.
Because
And I
Shaq
turned
told him
around.
and said, I don't even want to.
It's a family show. It's a family
I
show.
like
use a
that,
lot of
but
bad
This
words,
isn't
America.
TNT.
But I
Family
don't
show.
even mean like the way you said it, but it wasn't even so much Shaq telling him to leave it. What I took from the conversation was,
Exactly.
hey, man, he was on the other end practicing. And I looked at Kenny. I'm like, he's down there like, he's lazy.
Joking around.
He's
Exactly.
joking around. And Shaq came over here like, man, it's time to go. And that's what you need. Like, I don't care if Shaq made 1 or 1,000 shots. Shaq basically said to him, you know how we do. You playing around.
That's
If you was
what
playing
he was
with
doing.
him.
Exactly.
He don't
That's
need
what
to
he
be
was
doing that.
Yes,
He ain't do that all night. And so what I think it was more than Shaq saying, leave it and shoot it, which he did.
Yeah,
It
all
was
that-
him
all
saying,
that BS.
get prepared, quit playing around. You got a big game to play. And I think those things matter a lot. I saw Shaq put batteries in a lot of guys' back. And I know it worked.
Well, give me some names then.
I ain't doing that, man.
You like that fire? You know what you're talking about?
I ain't talking about nobody.
I know you ain't talking about Samaki
Are we bringing
Walker.
up Samaki Walker
I
and
know
Devin
you ain't
George?
talking about Mark Madsen.
Coach Mark Madsen, what up, Coach?
Can I add one more thing we have time for?
Yeah, sure. we
Because
always
this
do.
happened to me once. I was having a great game, and one of my favorite groups of all time was Bell Biv DeVoe. And Michael Bivens is a big basketball
He was
fan.
smooth, yeah.
And so
he
it's
the man.
I had like maybe 19 points at halftime. And so now I come out, and it's a game that's on national television, and I see Mike Bivens. And I'm like, oh, he's waving. Of course, I'm going to go say
Yeah.
what's up. And then one of my friends came up to me after. He's like, you never do that. What are you doing? Get back on the court. He ran from the other side, and I woke and put the smelling salt back
Yeah,
on me.
yeah.
Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
So it takes you out of mental focus. So what Danny Green is a great player. He's been on championship teams, but he was out of mental focus. And I don't know if Shaq did it, but I sure know it did not hurt him what Shaq said. I know it helped him in some way.
I wish I could tell America what I really said, but I can't.
Well,
This
when
is
you
a
said it, Shaq,
PG-13
I
show.
promise you, I said to Kenny, I said he gonna have a big game
He
tonight.
did. He said it. And I said, no, not just for – he said, I'm putting my money on Danny Green tonight to have the game tonight. That's what he said.
Why don't you say it in French?
Vos dos elementos en votoir, metes en punto que te pante tu ne m'appoint.
That sounded a little. That sounded like something.
Mother, mama, papa. You mother pumper. Punch you in your mother pumping face.
From complete insanity to
I'ma
an
whip your mother
insanely good
pumping ass.
performance.
What the hell,
Labor
mother,
step
mother,
next.
The Warriors stole a game in the NBA Finals, and now everyone gets to steal a free Doritos Locos Tacos. Run into Taco Bell from 2 to 6 p.m. on June 18th or order on the app and get it anytime, all day. Steal a game, steal a taco.
DXL is built as the one-stop shop for big and tall guys. With sizes starting at XL and over 100 brands that fit great and look even better. DXL Big and Tall, built to fit at DXL.com.
Rings, gold medals, stuff you put on a shelf behind glass. For us, it's always been more about what you take off the shelf and put into the glass. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey, a sweet crossover from America's whiskey dynasty.